evening, Dr. Roy.
Howdy, I'm back.
Good to see you again, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming back. Travis,
Yeah.
Doctor. Oh, Chadwick. Doctor. Me.
Are you on?
Oh, no, I'm not on.
make another. There he is.
Is that my intro every time?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope not. It's a little scary. We might have a kid watch it at some point, and that might scare them right off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, so it's been a minute since Dr. Roy was on last.
Yeah.
We've had quite a few MAHA and notable medical things going on since you were here last.
Right.
I've
been following them
you've been following them,
all the way.
and so we're mixing up the format of the podcast just a little bit to make it a little more, I think, digestible, but also just to have a little more conversations rather than fewer clips maybe and more conversations. And I asked Dr. Roy to come prepared today with some of the things going on. So if you're joining us for the first time, or you're a local Southern Indiana, Midwest, we're going to try to tell some stories maybe in the beginning or maybe all around that are a little more local, but a lot of the stuff that Dr. Roy brings from a medical perspective, that has nothing to do with local unless we're talking about energy or something else. So the stuff we're talking about, I think, to start today is a bunch of different stories have hit since the last time you were here. The most recent one that caused a lot of heads to explode was both Trump and RFK talking about the correlation of autism to the usage of Tylenol during pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people maybe took that out of context, and they started freaking out like, "Oh, I've taken Tylenol forever," or whatever.
Yeah.
And my own thing is taking too much of something isn't good. It's Tylenol, like any other thing you take, is a Band-Aid more than a solution.
If you take more than 4 grams a day, it can burn your liver up.
Yeah.
So
Do most people know that?
I don't think everybody does, but
And how long has that been a thing? Like forever?
That's been a thing like since the 1980s, that overdose on Tylenol is lethal to the liver. I know of one nurse who took a large amount of Tylenol, thinking she could just kill herself with that. Well, she did. She ended up with somebody else's liver.
Wow.
Because hers failed, and they managed to get a replacement in there. So it can be bad. But what they said was that, and there's some backup to this in looks at things, but what they said was that women who use Tylenol during pregnancy have a greater chance to have children with autism. And the thing that bothered me the most is that Tylenol has been over the counter since 1956. So that's a long time ago. And the big deal with autism didn't start until the 90s. So what the hell? What happened in those 40 or 50 years that changed something? My only guess at that point was one of two things. Either what they put in to make the tablets stick together, and believe me, they put in a lot of crap when they do that, is causing the autism, or there's something else that women who take Tylenol in the 1990s may have done at the same time, and there's a lot of autism. Now, don't get me wrong, if you take one Tylenol tablet when you're sick, when you're pregnant, that doesn't automatically mean that your child is going to be autistic. It's a small number of children whose mothers used Tylenol, and Tylenol was pushed by the obstetrics. They said, "Oh yeah, this is the safest thing. You can take this for pain. You can take this for fever, all of these things." but they didn't know at that time that there might be some problems with it.
Well, I think, Dr. Roy, one of the things, just to jump in real quick, and
Sure.
I want you to get right back in. One of the things that we're finding out with vaccines and other things with the ushering in of a new administration is the lack of real, true, double-blind placebo studies anywhere. And so it's one thing if you have, let's say 1,000 pregnant women on one side and 1,000 pregnant women on the other. One's getting treated with Tylenol, the other one's getting treated with something else, or nothing at all. Then you have a fair representation of what is what.
And they actually have that.
Yeah.
But the numbers, I looked at the numbers, and there are a whole lot fewer women who didn't take Tylenol during pregnancy than those who did. And the numbers, there were still some people in the no Tylenol who had children with autism, but it was a great deal less than the ones who took Tylenol during their pregnancies. But let me throw this out there. About the same time in the 1990s when autism began was the same time that women started getting tattoos on their bodies more than previously. And, God only knows what's in the tattoo ink. There's an awful lot of heavy metals, or there was before they changed them. Now they've got much better control of the inks and everything else. But, what if the boron or the beryllium or whatever that happened to be cobalt in the tattoo ink was the cause rather than the Tylenol? So, people out there can crucify me for this. I said I took Tylenol and never had an autistic child, or I had 5 tattoos put on, and none of my kids turned out autistic. So throw it at me if you want to, but I just thought about that.
Well, the thing about science, as you well know, Doc, is not every usage of things impacts a person the same as the other. I mean, we are our own, body and health, and we have our own mitochondrial strength, and we have, other risk factors that maybe cause a lot of genetic issues. But I think it's important, and this was a published study, and not only is it a published study, I did some questioning of on some large language models, and basically, let me just give a quick summary, and you can find this study. It's a study that overlaps over 27 other studies, basically just what I'm seeing here. But the abstract says acetaminophen is the most widely used over-the-counter medication for pain and fever relief during pregnancy, with over 50% of pregnant women worldwide using it. Multiple high-quality studies have linked prenatal exposure to acetaminophen with increased risks of neurodevelopment disorders, NDDs, in offspring, such as autism spectrum disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The systematic review applied to the navigation guide methodology, a rigorous, transparent framework for environmental health evidence synthesis. And so what this is saying is PubMed search conducted through February 2025 identified 46 relevant studies due to high heterogeneity in study designs, exposures, and outcomes. A qualitative synthesis was performed, and 27 studies reported positive associations. 9 were null, 4 were negative. So the important part here that we've been lacking is informed consent, and I think we've talked about this on several occasions in the podcast. Anytime, I don't even think a lot of, what's the doctors that take care of obstetricians? I mean, how often does an obstetrician actually sit down in depth with a pregnant woman and talk about if they have fever or whatever. I think they've just been trained to just say, yeah, ibuprofen, whatever, ibuprofen, Tylenol, they're fine.
Acetaminophen,
Just take them. It's fever reduction, blah, blah, blah. And that really hasn't been pushed back on in any capacity. So what that means to me, and I think what we're seeing more and more, is a lot of studies have been done. There's a lot of information that comes out. Some of it gets pushed to the side and never comes to the surface. And this is one of those that I don't think has seen the light of the sun and been talked about robustly with doctors, with neonatal people and premature. All the people that are expert in this realm should really be looking at this together and having conversations out in the daylight.
Right.
I mean,
I agree with that.
So I don't know. Anyway, I think the important part, what I want to make sure that what we're doing locally is anyone that that's just anti-Trump and so therefore RFK's on his team, you're just anti-RFK, or if you have any legitimate concerns about either one of them, you can't ignore things like this. And it's bad for your health. It's bad for your family's health. You have to look through your own cognitive dissonance and your own bias rationale and look to something that there's studies out here that are pointing things out. And so don't ignore that. And if you do that, you're doing it at your own risk, right? I mean, I think that's ultimately what I'm trying to get at. I don't know, Travis, you got anything on that whole? I know it's been out there, so I'm going to start asking you more if you have any insights on any of this. But I know, I'm assuming your wife and you guys probably take Tylenol from time to time. Is this something that you've ever heard about prior to just now? I mean, the risk in pregnancy and all that you'd heard about.
Well, not risk in pregnancy, but liver issue. Like we knew that it was a bad liver process. So we actually don't take a lot of acetaminophen. We usually take ibuprofen if we're going to take anything.
That won't eat your liver up, but it'll eat your kidneys up. So there you go.
I guess. Well, I don't take a lot of anything, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, a lot of people that work in repetitive jobs and whatever, ibuprofen is one that they. Before they go on pain medication or any of that, ibuprofen is one, and there definitely is some side effects with that. And you can also overdose on it, and just like anything else.
Just like anything else.
Yeah,
except for marijuana. You can't overdose on marijuana.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you how many people who overdosed on marijuana came into the emergency room back in the 70s and 80s.
I wonder if they got something sprinkled in.
Yeah, I was going to say,
maybe so. Yeah. They used to put... a lot of crazy stuff in there to make it more powerful when they were really giving you, like not even marijuana.
Yeah.
Just.
Well, I don't know how we got in the marijuana rabbit hole.
He said
but we did.
It's your fault.
Oh my God.
So, use informed consent. If you're of childbearing age and, you have questions about this, do your own research. If you look, this particular study is listed a lot of PubMed studies. That's something that Dr. Roy references very regularly. This one is ehjournal.biomedcentral.com. But if you just do a search of evaluation of evidence on acetaminophen use in neural development disorders, it'll come up on Google. Again, I just tell anyone that just to use caution. And again, I'm one of those that if I believe there's any chance that taking it would give our child some kind of neurodegenerative, I'm going to caution my wife, and we're going to potentially look at other paths.
Right.
I mean, you don't require Tylenol to survive.
No.
Right.
And I saw some posts that said, "Oh yeah, just let the ladies suffer during pregnancy." Everybody jumps down on women, and obviously these were people who were very pro-females. So anyway, but there was another one for morning sickness that was taken off the market for a while because they thought that children would be born deformed if they took this thing. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was off the market for, I don't want to say 10 or 12 years until somebody finally came out with a survey that it really didn't. It didn't make that. And there were, multi-million-dollar lawsuits over the whole thing. So, and they were saying, well, what are you going to do? Let the poor lady throw up for 6-7 weeks, have to go to the hospital and get IVs and all that. So anyway, you're looking at me funny.
No, that's all I got, Doc.
What did I say?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what glasses I want on right now.
Oh yeah, well I got my regular ones on.
Well, I got some yellow ones.
Yeah.
I just got some different ones. I'm trying out some different ones.
Was it Bendectin?
Bendectin, yeah. Bendectin.
Bendectin. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, these are nice.
And
that was a real nice part.
It's pretty good.
So these are the non-orange ones. So you're supposed to. This is a little bit of a rabbit hole. If it's your first time joining the podcast,
we go down a lot of rabbit holes.
Me and Dr. Well, we come back to the same thing. So like everything that I'm doing is basically trying to prepare my anti-tyranny toolkit, and we're talking about Bitcoin a lot as one of those. But we've talked about mitochondrial function and healthy mitochondria, and these glasses that me and Dr. Roy are trying on. We haven't been able to guilt Travis into it yet, but we're really trying to get
some.
You're just too lazy to put them on.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really not what it is. It's kind of more. It's kind of annoying on my face. Like I don't wear glasses anyway. So like
I don't know.
The bridge of my nose, my ears, like it's just I don't know. I just have to get used to it if I wear them.
Well, I wore glasses for 20 years until I had my eyes fixed, and now I don't wear them except for these when there's a lot of bright light in a room and I want to get rid of the blue in it. I wear these. So.
Yeah, so again, the rabbit hole, both Dr. Roy and I are wearing special glasses to block non-native light outside of the normal spectrum of light that comes from the sun. And we went for thousands of years of not being in light after, before sunrise and after sunset. And there's a lot of really good science out there that points to the fact that your mitochondria do not start fixing themselves with a circadian. When your circadian rhythm turns on, when the sun goes down, we just don't have as much time because we're spending so much time on screens and television and whatever. So it's causing a lot of dysfunction down the road. So if you see us with these glasses on, that's the reason. If you want a link to any of those, just reach out to me. There's a lot of cheap ones. These ones I have on right now are like $17.
Yeah.
They don't have any reading capability in them. These ones that I have here, I'll put on after the sun goes down, and if I need to read a screen, these have some cheaters in them.
Yeah,
but you can get them. All of these are less than $20.
Cheaters in mine, and I think mine cost a little bit more. They were like $45.
Are they like bifocal, nothing on top and cheaters down below?
Yeah, I actually installed those in there. They're a little. Here, I'll show you guys.
Like they're adhesive?
Yeah, they're adhesive.
His eyeball just came off with it.
Yeah, they're adhesive, and you put them on the back here, and you can read through them. And those cost like $15 a pair.
What's your strength on there?
1.5.
Okay, so I may look into doing that.
Yeah, they've got them on Amazon.
Well, one of the things that caused a problem, I'm sitting here talking to you, or I'm looking at Travis, like these are fine because they don't have any cheater in them, but I can't really read this very well. So I'd like to be able to just have something down here and like be able to look at you like this. And
these little things, you don't have to put them on with anything. You just kind of...
It's like a film that just kind of sticks on there.
Yeah.
I forgot what that stuff is that just kind of attaches to stuff natural. It just kind of sticks on it.
It's called spit. That's what I use.
Very scientific.
Put mine in. Yeah,
it's like this. It's like something you have on a screen whenever you buy a computer, and it just pulls off. I mean, it's got a natural.
It's just like a static.
It's like a static adhesive of some sort.
No, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the vaccination group at the CDC came out with saying that that COVID-19 shots are no longer recommended. They are a personal sort of thing.
Personal choice.
Personal choice. And I actually had a patient of mine text me today and said, what do you think about me getting a COVID-19 shot now? And I said, don't do it unless you're forced. And she came back and said, good deal. They're not forcing us, but they're telling us it's a good thing to do.
How old was she?
Is
she? I'm sorry.
She is 60.
Okay.
Yeah, still working.
Okay.
But
so her workplace is suggesting it, but not forcing it?
They're suggesting it, but they're not requiring it.
Okay.
And I said, no, don't do it. And, let me tell you, I found a nice, I wish I could show it on there, but if you look at the deaths from the VAER, the deaths from vaccines in 1990 through 2003, I think, 67% of the deaths were from COVID vaccines.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge. Let me see if I can get you a picture of that you can stick in front of something. Let me see.
So that was, what was the,
All right.
Yeah.
You see this big red?
Can you text that to me real quick? I can put it on screen.
Okay. If this, see, Chad Schmidt, that's you.
Uh-oh. Now your last name's out there.
I've been doxxed. Thanks,
Yeah.
Doc.
Doxed you? Doxed.
Well, it's not letting me do that, but you can see
Here,
on that.
Let me see it. Let me see it. I might be able to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Our sound guy's going to kill somebody.
Yeah, ignore all the porn on there.
Ah. So let's see what we can do here. Oh, it's trying to get you to email or.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, he tries to do that, Doc.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with my mother.
With your mother?
What were you saying? Yeah, she talks to me. Refresh on the deaths. So we got to talking about COVID-19 vaccinations and everything, and kind of refresh me on or our audience on. What am I trying to say? So
I lost it.
The ventilators being kind of a death sentence.
Yeah.
So why was that?
It was because the hoses to the ventilators were not kept clean because everybody was so busy there that normally you would clean them and change them once a day, and they might go 2 or 3 days. So there was a tremendous amount of hospital-acquired pneumonia during that period of time. And it's not like you were using somebody else's things, but there were a lot of bugs in the air during this period of time. And people were getting that. I'll tell you this is for real. More people died from COVID shots and from ventilators than died from the disease itself.
Don't forget remdesivir.
Remdesivir, yeah. Remdesivir is terrible. I can tell you some good things about ivermectin. Can I say that? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. We've already been, one of our channels has been.
I don't think it's. I think the whole ivermectin censorship thing has gone away. I don't know. I think what happened was so we're currently, our YouTube channel is banned. Yeah. And I tried to upload an old podcast with Jesse Cosbade, who it's on Rumble, it's on Spotify, but I was trying to get it on YouTube just so I would be able to get everything that we've done. And they think they censored it again, even though I thought they censored it the first time. I thought because we were talking about ivermectin. Yeah. But for something else that he said they didn't like. So I don't know what it was. But they didn't give me a warning. They don't give you a chance to come back. Yeah. They just said you're out. Right. Yeah. So I had to I didn't create a side channel, and I didn't upload it somewhere else where we could give it to people, but that's, kind of what happened. But anyway, so I don't know how long it's going to last even. So it's going to cost us some views here, which is a little concerning. Yeah. But
getting back to ivermectin, I've had 2 patients in the last 3 weeks who have contacted me, and the first one was a young lady. She's less than 40, and she said she's in the school system. She said that that she tested positive twice for COVID, and she's coughing and all this other kind of stuff. So I actually took some ivermectin over to her house and gave it to her. That was on a Tuesday night. She was back to work at Monday. She resolved that quickly with ivermectin. And the other one was a 59-year-old who is a patient of mine but actually lives in Florida. And she contacted me and said, I'm pretty sure I've got COVID. Well, she's got a bad heart and she's got some COPD in her lungs. And I said, man, this is a bad thing, because I couldn't like walk next door and hand it to her. So I called a CVS in where she lives in Florida, talked to the pharmacist, and he says, yeah, doc, I've got 80 tablets of 3 milligrams. And I said, okay, all I want is 20, because that's what we typically give is 12 milligrams per dose. But if you take 4 3 milligram ones, that's the same thing. Let me have 20, and I want you to give it to this lady, and her husband's going to be over in just a few minutes. And she was better in like 3.5 days.
Wow.
I texted her again. She said, well, I'm still coughing a little bit, but, I feel like I can get out of bed now.
We're talking about Dawn?
No.
Oh, somebody else.
No.
I thought you were talking about our friend Dawn.
No.
Okay.
No, this is another patient of mine. This lady was 59 years old.
Oh yeah.
And
okay, I didn't hear that part.
Dawn's not quite that old.
No, I'm sorry, Dawn. I know you're not that old.
But
My bad.
but it was in the general area of where Dawn lives.
Oh, okay.
So I have a patient down there. And she was much, much better.
Well, so this is interesting, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, because I know a lot of your patients down there. I don't know how many of them listen to the podcast or how many of them have listened to what we've talked about.
I can tell you this lady and her husband both listened.
Okay, well, so they've heard then you and I talk about, and Travis talk about the importance of getting into the sunlight.
Yes,
getting your eyeballs in the sunshine without sunglasses on, getting your skin exposed to sun on a daily basis
in the morning.
We're gonna talk about some grounding and earthing studies, an actual live study that I shared with you. I thought was very interesting. But we also talk about methylene blue a lot, and so Dr. Roy does sell ivermectin. If you need ivermectin, reach out to me or Dr. Roy.
Yes.
We don't sell. You don't sell. I don't sell anything because I'm not a doctor or a pharmacist.
Yeah.
But we do talk about methylene blue a lot, and I know you wanted to talk about methylene blue
absolutely
as well.
Well, methylene blue is a dye, and it's been around for 150 years, and it's what they used to dye jeans with to make them blue. But probably back in the 1950s and 60s, they discovered that it was a very good antibacterial, particularly for the urinary tract. And they would, the physicians would tell their patients to start taking methylene blue if they had a urinary tract infection. And I found this out when I was a young nurse's assistant at a hospital, and I saw this guy come in. He had a catheter and a bag in, and his urine was green. And I said, "Oh dear God, what's the matter here?" And the doctor said, "Oh, that's methylene blue. It keeps him from having infections." So
that was the doctor that was in your charge at that time, and he was giving the gentleman methylene blue.
He was a urologist, and he was giving him that. And let me tell you, this is 1968. So I was pretty early in things, and so I learned from that. If you go ahead about another 20 years, we discovered that the mitochondria in the cells, which are the energy-producing bodies inside the cells, just about every cell in your body, if you take methylene blue, it will increase the amount of NAD that's pushed out from the mitochondria. And that's why a lot of people are taking it by mouth. You can either take it as a capsule or you can take it as a liquid. I happen to like it as a liquid. I put one shot of it in my coffee every morning, and it works really well. And here's what it did to me. I had retired by the time this started, and it was just about every day that about 2 o'clock I felt like I needed a nap. And I laid down and had a nap for about an hour, hour and a half, and then I woke up. As soon as I started taking Methylene Blue, I never needed to take a nap again. I had plenty of energy, a lot more energy than I did when I was still practicing with 20 patients a day. So I continue to use it, and I had a young lady come in for a checkup today, and she said she was feeling kind of low and didn't have much things going on, didn't feel good. Well, she had a lot of other things going on, but I also told her she would start on Methylene Blue. It would increase the amount of energy that she had in her body. So she's going to start doing that.
There's lots of things online that you can research and find. I've myself read a couple of books and done a lot of research on Methylene Blue. There's two of them here. One of them is Methylene Blue. It was actually called The Magic Bullet back a long time ago. This is a really good book. I highly recommend. It's by John Lawrence, and the other one is The Ultimate Guide to Methylene Blue by Mark Sloan. And just so you get an idea, Dr. Roy's mentioned a couple things. And again, I'm not a doctor. Do your own research. Implied consent applies here. But it says, remarkable hope for depression, COVID, AIDS, and other viruses, Alzheimer's, autism, cancer, heart disease, cognitive enhancement, pain, and more. Yeah. And so, again, we're looking at putting stuff, me and Dr. Roy are talking about, fighting tyranny, and that goes, government all the way to medical establishments and institutions. But it's also giving ourselves tools to fight things that we can fight without relying on pharmaceutical company or whatever.
Before there were good antibacterials for urinary tract infections, people died from a mild urinary tract infection and invaded their kidneys. Their kidneys went shot, and they died.
Isn't that what kills people still a lot in nursing homes and
sure.
And people with Alzheimer's and dementia? They get urinary tract infections quite often. Heard.
Yeah, very commonly. And instead of giving them antibiotics, which we had no good antibiotics then, it was, back in the 1950s, we had sulfa and we had penicillin, and that was it. And they used Methylene Blue, and it worked pretty well for urinary tract infections. And that's what I learned back in 1967 or 8. Whenever I saw this elderly gentleman come in with that, the urologist said, "Oh, that's Methylene Blue. It works real good." So anyhow, that's a big deal.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons why I thank God every day that you and I met each other a long time ago, and you agreed to come on the podcast because you're willing to explore these conversations and topics that most local practicing physicians or even physicians around the globe, won't even really talk to you about Methylene Blue. They'll look at you like you got two heads or whatever. So,
they looked at me like that I had two heads when I was giving people Ivermectin back in 2001 and 21. Yeah. And I had one physician who said, "Does that stuff really work?" And I said, "Let me tell you, I've treated almost 75 patients with Ivermectin who had COVID. None of them died, and none of them had to be hospitalized. And they got better in 3 or 4 days." And he, again, looked at me like I had two heads. Well, now I'm at about 175 people that I've treated with ivermectin, and the same thing holds. Nobody's died, and nobody's had to be hospitalized.
Well, you treated my wife with long COVID. She had a cough for months and months and months, and I think that was one of I hadn't heard that anybody local, any apothecaries or anything, were even selling it, and so you found one over on the other side of town. And she felt better within 24 to 48 hours, and she had been coughing and hacking for weeks and weeks.
Well, I was kind of scared when I was trying to run up the ivermectin for this lady in Florida, but I called one CVS and they said, "Yeah, we've got it, doc, but we've only got 10 tablets." And I said, "Well, 10 tablets is not going to work very well." She said, "Oh, but the other CVS 10 blocks away probably has it. I just looked them up. They've got 80 tablets on hand." I said, "I only need 20." And I called the pharmacist, and he was very, very nice. And unlike the pharmacists at CVS around here, he was very nice. And I guess I'd be happier if I was living in Florida than if I was living in Indiana.
Especially if it's wintertime.
Yeah, well, this wasn't wintertime.
Man.
This is now.
We can't use the excuse of not having any sun. Okay.
But he was very nice, and he said, "What are you using this for, doctor?" And I said, "I've got a lady with COVID, and it works." And I told him that, and he said, "Oh, my God, we ought to order more." So maybe he did. Who knows? But you mentioned long COVID. I've got a couple of patients who are on long COVID, and I've been selling them ivermectin for a long time. And basically, they take one a day for like 3 months. And one of them is pretty much cured, and she doesn't need it anymore. And another one is doing real well. She's just about at the end of her first 100 tablets.
Yeah. So I mean, I just want to circle back around to what I said. Sure. I mean, we have Dr. Roy on here, and I'm super grateful for that, because we can explore these things that local physicians, for many reasons, and we're going to get into those here in just a minute, why some of those reasons are, why they can't or won't talk about the things that we're talking about. But my goal is anybody that's listening to us, if you have, anyone in your family that's at all open-minded to listening to a 50-plus year practicing medical doctor, pulmonologist, someone who's treated patients for COVID quite often with all success, I believe, and or just some of the other things that we've talked about with the blue blocking glasses and the methylene blue. We're looking at things that I'm looking at things that I can help my parents, my kids, my wife, myself, and you're nice enough to come in and shoot some things down that I say, but also do your own research and come back and say, I think there's something to this, and then we go through that process, which I think if you have or know anyone that could use that kind of guidance, please send us questions. Dr. Roy, donates his time here. He's donating back to the program. So any ivermectin that you buy, a portion of that purchase goes back to expanding our programming here. We're looking for a new podcast studio and all kinds of other stuff. But anyway, so we're just share the message that we're trying to give here, and on Facebook or YouTube, or call up a neighbor, whoever you can share it with. We'd greatly appreciate that.
Yeah.
So to move kind of into the next thing, I know you had sent something over to me. You wanted to touch back on an old concept that you and I had discussed in form of golden duct tape and golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
And that basically, in essence, is a lot of local doctors are work for large medical facilities, and they have certain things they can and can't say for whatever reason. And I don't know what you wanted to talk about, but I'm just going to cue you up there and let you kind of go with that.
Nowadays, 75% of physicians are employed by large medical groups, particularly hospitals. Hospitals, basically, they buy the physicians. They go out and the physicians are just getting out of training. They have $300,000 in debt, and they say, "Hey, look, we'll pay that off for you if you come to work for us, and but you've got to follow the rules." And that's where the golden duct tape and the golden handcuffs come, is that these guys know, if they're working for these people, that if they step out of line, that they're probably going to be fired. And I know of at least 2 physicians who have been fired from local, now 3, another third one popped into my head, who have kind of stepped out of line, and they were fired in a hurry. And the whole thing with golden handcuffs is that they've got you in handcuffs, but those handcuffs are the money that you make, and you're making a lot of money. They're paying off $300,000 that you grabbed in debt while you were in medical school and residency. And then the golden duct tape is what goes over your mouth. We've got a roll of golden duct tape in here somewhere that I brought in.
It's over there behind Travis somewhere.
Yeah. But they put it over your mouth so that you don't say anything except what the big hospitals want you to. Now, in this town, I would say that more than 75 are employed by one or the other.
More than 75%, yeah.
More than 75.
I don't see very many people, Dr. Roy's around. No, nobody out there with their own shingle anymore.
There are a few.
Yeah.
And, of course, there are some independent groups of doctors. For example, the orthopedics group, the surgery group here. But they
aren't anesthesiologists, are they kind of free roaming?
No, they're usually pretty much bought by the...
Okay, well, what I have found, and this is kind of just a side rabbit hole, is I've got several anesthesiologist friends that I play golf with from time to time.
Yeah.
And they're part of the group, they're like one of the only doctor groups that come up to me and say, "Hey, Chad, I'm listening to what you and Dr. Roy are saying, and we agree with a lot of what you're saying, but we can't really say anything out loud."
That's right.
But they are at least independent-minded enough to know to come out and say, "Keep doing what you're doing," and whatever. So that really gives me actually a lot of hope. Not that they can actually say anything, but I just want to caution people: don't be mad at your doctors. Don't take this information that we're sharing with you and take it personal to them. Well, why aren't they sharing this stuff if it's so good and whatever? They literally are not allowed to do it, or they lose their license, which means they could go broke.
They won't lose their license. They'll lose their
job. They have to move to another city.
Have to move somewhere else.
I bring the mic just a little bit closer to you, Doctor.
Okay.
There you go.
Good. Well, I didn't want to cough in it.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
I had a little cough there for a second. But, they are, complete employees, and there's not a lot they can say. And they got to remember that most of the hospitals are not, the people who are the CEOs are not physicians. There are people that maybe have a master's degree in health administration, and they've worked their ways up. I know one guy that he was probably 10 years younger than I when I first met him, and he said he started out being in charge of the laundry in the hospital, and he moved his way up until he was like number 2 of a very large hospital in a different state from ours. I won't say which one it was, but he just kind of moved on up. Now, a few doctors will become CEOs of large systems. I know one guy in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that I trained with, who is now the CEO of a large hospital system in Baton Rouge. But he's a unicorn. That's not common. And he's a nice guy too. He was kind of crusty like me, and
I prefer to say curmudgeon-y.
he was curmudgeon-y. I was a curmudgeon when I was 28 years old. So
at least you've been consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, this guy was a year behind me in pulmonary training, and he and I thought about a lot of things together. But we parted ways as soon as we finished pulmonary training. I went into the Air Force, and he continued on. He went down to Louisiana, and now he's the CEO of the large place. But I'm glad to see that somebody like him has worked his way through the system and gotten that way.
So somebody like that, is he able to impact policy and to give doctors more freedom to go outside of whatever the orthodoxy?
I doubt that he does that. I think his board keeps him, pretty much the same way.
So the board can kind of go around him and hand slap and duct tape doctors around him.
The board won't do that. They'll tell him what to do, but
or else,
yeah. And the board is probably, in this case, they're attached to one of the Catholic health systems, so they are probably less likely to do things like that.
Well, if we have any brave patriot people like Dr. Roy in those positions that have retired or near retirement, that would be willing to come out of the shadows and have the conversations about what they're able to do and not do, I think that would be a really great conversation.
Oh, yeah.
We could sit with, you and I and Travis could sit with somebody and kind of walk through how that happens, because, again, I don't think anything really changes if we don't, first of all, expose it, acknowledge that it's happening, and then talk about it and why it's harmful that everybody has to have, the same think. Independent doctors with independent minds aren't really able to experiment and find alternate things anymore. And that's, I think, really dangerous, honestly. I don't know if did you have something else you wanted to go down on this one?
I've got a lot of other stuff.
Okay, well, before we get too far on that one. Okay, Travis, I don't know what you came prepared for today. I've got another thing on the health side or two that I want to talk about. I don't know. Did you bring anything you wanted to chat about today? Not too much. Okay,
not too much.
All right.
Just that we are Charlie Kirk.
We are Charlie. Yeah, we're going to get
three of us. We are Charlie.
We're going to get to We're going to get to Charlie. Yeah. So I want to real quick thank several. Well, there's quite a few people now that are donating to the program, and it really means a lot. I promise that I will be using that money to expand the programming, get more people like Dr. Roy and other experts in other fields coming out and talking about things that need to be talked about. And I appreciate that support that we're getting. Got a new computer here recently. Maybe going to go buy Dr. Roy some cough medicine.
But I'm not sick.
We're going to potentially be looking at a new podcast space. I think we got a couple options there we're looking at. And only reason why I love the space. I love how everything looks here now and feels. We got new lights, so it all looks pretty fantastic. And from the comfort of the home is nice, but I don't want to have 5 shows a week with my, people just coming in and out of the house. I think my wife might try to divorce me if I do that more. So we are going to look for some more programming. I'm kidding about I'm kidding about the divorce thing, by the way. Yeah. Well, she wouldn't do that, but I just don't want to do that. I don't want to.
She is an attorney.
That's not the D she wants.
Bye-bye. But the second kind of wrap around to that. So if you're interested in giving back to the program, I want to give back to you. So in this podcast studio tonight, there's three gentlemen that have gone down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, and we all three have our own journey that we're doing there. I'm newer to the game than Dr. Roy or Travis. But what I will say is, if you're willing to give a monthly subscription, a donation to the program, any amount was super helpful. But I would be willing to give you a Bitcoin education one-on-one, and or bring you into the podcast studio and have a discussion with you. But I'm very kind of new to doing the whole thing, so it's fresh in my head. But I'm happy to share that. And, one of the things that you could do is if I taught you how to buy a little Bitcoin, and then you could donate in Bitcoin. That way you're actually doing the transaction. And if you're going to give $25 or $500 or $5,000 a month, it's something that you could do, and you could do it.
$5,000 a month?
Well, we got
Who
one.
can do that?
We got one that's thinking about.
All right.
You know,
all right.
He's given not that much now, but he said, I want to give more, and I plan to give more, you know, in the not too distant future if I can. So
we're gonna have to, you know, go to the IRS and form a.
Well, we are very much a nonprofit, right? We are. There is no profit going on right now. So,
yeah.
If there is, my paycheck's lacking. No.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I've even cut off your bourbon. That's pretty bad, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah.
So, but truthfully, though, what we're trying to do here is, I don't need to be behind the camera of every podcast. I want to bring on other people, like I said, who are experts, and have them going down these same, going in these same topics or different topics, and creating like a program a night that if anybody wants to tune in, more like a local news channel that you can get kind of a daily wrap. But anyway, I went down that rabbit hole. I want to come back to one more thing health related that I had shared with Dr. Roy. We talked about it in the past, Doc, and that's called earthing or grounding.
Uh-huh.
And you might have called me woo at one point for talking about it, but all I will say, and I told you this just personally, I've spent a lot of time with my feet on the ground as a kid, and I loved it, but I have always felt like if I'm stressed out or something, if I take off my shoes, doesn't matter what time of the day. I mean, it's really nice in the sunlight if you can go out and face the sun, get some sun, and have some bare feet on the ground. I feel an energy change in my body. I think people that go to the beach probably feel it, and they just think, well, I'm at the beach. Of course I'm going to feel that way. But if you're literally there with your feet in the sand in the water near the ocean, that is about the best grounding and earthing that you can get. So it's not just, hey, I'm at the beach so I feel better. I think a lot of that has to do with your actually.
Well, I did that when I was in St. Lucia in June, and I did a lot of walking barefooted, and it was great. So anyway, I guess there must be something that goes along with it.
Well, we're going to show some video here.
We are.
We got a clip. We're going to we're going to have a clip, and this is some actual science that you'll see happening right in front of you, and you can't get any more real time than what we're about to show. This is starting about 3-minute mark. I don't know how long we're going to go into it, but I want to show the results that are seen just within a very short window of time here. Travis, you got me queued up?
Mm-hmm. All right. So
wait, before I don't remember where I queued this in, but so what this lady is doing is she's taken some of her own blood. She's put it, what's the thing when you put it under the microscope? You put it onto a slide of some sort.
Yeah.
So she took her own blood. This is her own blood that you're getting ready to start this clip on, and it shows it, and she's kind of talks about what it looks like and what she likes and what she doesn't like, and then she's going to introduce a technology, and then she's going to 15 or 30 minutes later take another test, and you'll see the difference in her blood cells, and this is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
If you can watch this, I highly recommend it, and I'm going to finish off with why I'm telling you this right now.
the cell thickness looks pretty good. So overall,
this is her
I'm
current
quite
blood.
happy with my thickness. But see how this is all just linked on top here? I don't want that linked like that. That's inflammatory. Here's the immune system. Now, in a perfect world, I'd prefer him stretching and moving, but overall, you know, the nuclei and whatnot in the actual immune system, I'm fairly happy with. So as I move around, again, we're seeing this a little too clumpy, and we want this moving a lot more. So let's see how this changes once I do the grounding mat.
Okay, so there was a whole intro into a grounding mat. So basically, you can go on Amazon and purchase what's called grounding mats. So a lot of people do them on their bed. These particular ones that she's just using at her desk. Basically, all it is you take a mat that's got a grounding wire ran throughout it, and you plug it into the small hole down in the bottom of the receptacle. And all that does, don't be freaked out about it. You're not going to get electrocuted because the center plug, and if I had one exposed out, but if you got a 3-prong plug, yeah. I'm just trying to, people that don't really understand what plugs are, I'm just going to like you got two up top, then you got the one at the bottom, that's a ground, and all that is designed to do is go directly out into the earth. So your house is attached to the ground through a main grounding wire, and every other outlet in your house goes out to the ground. So that's the result of that.
Right.
So you take that one solo plug in the grounding mat, and you put it just in the lower prong on that. And so the idea behind it, that mat becomes the earth in essence, as far as the energy side of it. So here we go.
Here I am. I still have my feet on this pad, and I've been sitting here for 10-15 minutes with my feet on the pad. So I am going to test and just see what I look like after 10-15 minutes, because I'm kind of curious. Is it moving? Is it just still showing inflammatory? Like, what are we going to see here? So here we go.
So just so you know, she's doing real time. So she's poked herself. She's put the blood on a slide, on 2 different slides, and then she's going to look at it again.
This is oil that we use, and enables us to zoom in. So if anybody on YouTube's thinking I'm putting something on here, I'm not. It's called immersion oil. What do we got? No way. So this is pretty exciting to even see after 10-15 minutes. And we're gonna keep testing this as the week goes on to ensure that this is what we're actually seeing. So you guys can see a massive difference. The cells are much more open. We're looking at what we call a fast-moving highway instead of a highway with traffic. We're not seeing inflammatory as much. This is pretty exciting change for 10-15 minutes on the pad of already grounding. Now, what's interesting with my feet, I was telling one of the staff members here, I feel like it's kind of like pulling. Like I feel like little tingling. And I know when I use this pad at home and I lay in bed, I get this kind of like my skin tingling and pulling. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. So let's see where it goes from here.
So she goes on to, I think she did several days, and it gets better and better. And I don't want to go through all those clips, just because the moral of the story is, like, and Doc can, I think you'll back me up on this. Like a lot, I don't know if most, but a lot of the issues that we have are inflammation issues, as far as causing poor health, and inflammation causes poor circulation. And all I'm saying, based on this little bitty thing, is you got better circulation, you got better movement of your blood.
That's right.
That can't be bad.
The red bloods, when the red blood cells get together and stick to each other, then they make clots, and clots are bad for you.
Unless you're bleeding out, then clots happen at the source of a clot.
Clots happen at the end, not at the source.
Right. So there you go. So, but like if like when you talk about people have arteriosclerosis or bad veins, I'm imagining whenever the blood is slow and not moving, those things are basically attaching to the arterial and
they're attaching to each other.
Yeah.
And that's what a clot is a whole bunch of red blood cells that are stuck together. Now, she said one thing that is incorrect. She was pointing at all those little red blood cells and said, "Oh, look at the nuclei." Red blood cells don't have nucleuses. They're one of the cells that doesn't have a nucleus at all, because red blood cells are for one thing and one thing only, and that's carrying oxygen to your body. And the red stuff in the red blood cells binds to oxygen in the lungs, and then it goes to all parts of your body and releases that oxygen. That's how oxygen gets from breathing it in to your cells, is that the red blood cells carry it. But having a nucleus is too much trouble for those. So those, think of them as worker bees, and they just drag the oxygen content down to where you need it at the end of things in the capillaries.
Well, I'm not a doctor. You are a doctor. I don't have any expertise in diabetes, but my gut feeling tells me that what I believe diabetes is a lack of circulation, right? Basically in your extremities, and a lot of times
that's a little farther back. that's not what causes diabetes. That is a result of diabetes.
I guess my only point, and I don't want to get too far down the
Yeah.
rabbit hole. I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but my only point is, I know, you have, was it
Neuropathy.
neuropathy?
Yeah.
Because circulation gets worse and
Yeah.
whatever. So again, just minimally, if you could do this for someone with diabetes, I would think this could potentially help in circulation.
I think you're probably
I mean,
right.
that would, and what
Yeah.
you spend $100, or I think you can get a mat for like $50, but you spend $100 or something, and you might be able to have a little bit of benefit from it
Yeah.
for a diabetic patient or somebody else with poor circulation.
It could be.
I don't know that it could hurt.
be.
It's one of those
No.
like ivermectin. You just
Yeah.
throw it in your
Not gonna
toolkit.
hurt.
Give
Yeah.
it a whirl. There is another part of this clip, and so basically she brings in somebody else from her office and does the same thing, and the same thing happens to
Yeah.
somebody.
When you were talking about ground mats, I had the idea of having like a little box with a lot of dirt in it or something. But, now that you're putting electricity in it, then that's
Well, if we could sit outside and not be bugged by mosquitoes and the noise of cars and stuff going
Yeah.
by, I'd much rather sit outside and just have our feet on the ground. But I guess one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this is, first and foremost, we're trying to bring things to people
Yeah.
that they can use in their own life and improve their own lives. But this particular one, I got a surprise for you guys. So I decided after watching this, I was going to buy grounding mats for. They're not on here today. They haven't showed up. So
Okay.
me and Travis have bare feet. We're all three going to have access to grounding mat if you want to use those when you come in.
sure.
And so that's something. So anybody that visits,
I'm not going to stick here and stick my fingers.
you can bring your microscope. It'd be fun.
I don't have a microscope.
Well, come on. Use some of that Bitcoin and get you a microscope, buddy.
Come on, they cost about $2,000.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we could get one. I could plug it into the show. We could just have a microscope. Never mind.
Yeah.
A microscope. We could all have our blood, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
I
just gonna
don't know.
Oh,
Never
look at
mind.
me. I've got leukemia.
So anyway, so I'm going to add grounding mats to the podcast, something we'll talk about. There might even be, I think there's one of these, she had one of the companies, I think there's actually a referral link. So one of the ones she's like, you can go buy any of them, but if you want to support our podcast, and this is, do grounding mats really work? It's Microcell Sciences is the podcast that I got this from. And she's got a referral link. So she probably makes, $10 if somebody buys a mat through that Amazon link. So
Probably
I may end
not
up
that much.
Yeah, but I may end up doing that just because, I think if
Yeah.
it's beneficial and we can make a little bit of money to support the program, why not?
Sure.
All right.
I'll have to take my shoes and socks off next time.
Yeah. It'll definitely be here.
smell.
So I think Travis's setup there will not be a problem because he's got plenty of room below his feet. You and I are, because we're at the end of the table, we don't.
Yeah.
It's going to be more difficult. That's why I'm talking about getting a different table. I might
Sure.
try to get two square ones. That way, we can both have our feet under it and be a little more natural sitting, and have our feet on the mats.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. Okay, so there's a couple things that have happened locally that we could talk about if you want here in the Evansville area. We had a local officer shot and a couple days ago, and I think from what I understand,
Sounds like he's in pretty bad shape.
yeah, I believe, at least last I read, and this may have changed as of Tuesday night on 9/23. The last I heard, he was paralyzed below the waist, I think. I don't know. I don't know anything whether that's long term kind of thing. But
He was shot twice.
Mm-hmm.
One grazed his head, and the other one was, quote, in his shoulder area. Well, if it came in through the back and hit his spinal cord, he very well could be.
yeah, so that's really sad. It's just a terrible. This guy was from up north, and I think we recruited him in.
Yeah.
A young guy. So just terrible. And I don't really want to throw anything out there about who the person was yet. And I know it's like an 18-year-old kid is the suspect. Recent, and I don't want to say for sure he had a long record, but based on everything that I heard, I think he's been in trouble a lot, and we're just seeing more and more, violent people let out and doing harm. And we had that murder. I don't know if we've podcasted since we had that murder downtown in Evansville of the older, very well-known family in town.
Well, I happen to know that lady personally.
Oh, wow.
She sold us our house.
Wow.
So we knew her very well.
Oh,
and as soon as we found out that she had died, we wondered what was going on. And now she's been strangled in her house and raped and everything else. So they caught the guy at least.
Yeah, but again, that guy had been in trouble a lot of times.
Yeah.
And he got let out early. No local judges are at fault of this. My wife has done research on it. It was actually the penitentiary or whatever, wherever he was being held.
The parole people
decided to let him out early, and then he comes back and he kills someone. And so again, we really need to probably have some serious conversations about what people were allowing out on the streets. We got people in jail probably that shouldn't be in jail, and we got people coming out of jail that probably should be there for forever or a very extended period of time.
Yeah.
This guy, I think it seems like he has some mental health issues as well. So I'm not saying jails are the best mental health institutions.
No, the local sheriff is redesigning his jail to have a lot of mental health particulars in there, and also having people take care of them while they're in there. They have one wing of the new jail is going to be all mental health. So I my hat is off to Noah, the local sheriff, for doing that.
So I think the one thing I think we'll need to come back to, and maybe we'll talk about it a little bit now. You hear a lot of people when stuff like this happens about the need for gun control and changes in things and taking away guns. I think just based on what I'm reading out of the gate with this one, this guy ended up getting guns from a person who was a felon that went through the process of getting buying the guns when he went to apply for it, they didn't background check him enough to know that he was whatever, and he shouldn't have gotten them in the first place.
Yeah.
So whenever people start talking about, well, we need gun control, we need to take away guns, what we need to do is make sure that the laws that are already in place are actually being followed.
Yeah.
And we don't do that very well, no. I don't think. It doesn't seem like. And so
it doesn't seem like it to me either. There are a lot of things locally that have popped up to my thoughts. Have either of you heard about the city council deciding to make Evansville what do they call it?
Not a sanctuary city.
Yeah, sanctuary city.
You're kidding me, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I got something in the mail about that. Is that the city council is considering this, and would you like to vote against it? And of course, I voted against it and sent it back because that's crazy. So, I actually asked these people before they became city councilmen. I said, "Is anyone in here who's running for city council willing to say that they would like to make Evansville a sanctuary city?" And not a single one of them said yes.
Okay. Well, if this is true, I'm going to do some, I did not come prepared for hearing what I just heard right there.
Yeah.
And my blood probably started to boil a little bit. So I'm going to table that knee-jerk reaction until I have a conversation.
You need that ground thing.
Well, the problem is nobody in the administration will really have a conversation. They don't talk. They're not transparent or open. But I am hearing several potential mayoral candidates for the next election who are much more open and will put these things out in daylight and allow them to be talked to on a podcast.
Yeah.
And so that's where if I was already leaning, but if it's what you're saying is true, I think that comes from the top down into the city council. That would have to be a mayoral led thing, and I will not go way quiet on that one. That's going to be something I'm gonna talk about a lot more.
So I have a little bit of information here on that. If you want me to just
Since you haven't said anything all day, geez.
Well, you know,
I thought you were over there napping.
No, I'm just.
I see the cameras flipping, but I'm
pushing buttons. I'm pushing.
You've done a good job of it, too, buddy.
I'm moving sliders and pushing buttons over here. So it looks like there really hasn't been any information since March 31st about this. But at that time, it says that Evansville City Council members have been fielding phone calls and emails about a resolution to make Evansville a sanctuary city for those seeking gender affirming care. So that's the sanctuary.
So
portion
it's
of
not illegal aliens. It's
okay. Well, so
trans people.
So I'll need to. Is that a slippery slope? I got a lot of questions on that.
Well, it could be. There's just a smidge more. I won't get too deep into this, but it does say that it is not currently on the agenda, but it is still likely to be discussed. Once again, this was March 31st, so some things may have changed, but I could not find any information that's newer than this March 31st article. It says that a member of the advocacy group Trans and Queer Hoosiers Organization, so TQHOP, I don't know. For prosperity. So TQHOP and E and equality. Wow, that's not a very anyway.
The acronym is a little
okay. So Trans and Queer Hoosiers Organizing for Prosperity and Equality. That's the name of the organization or whatever. Has been quoted in local media reports stating that she will ask the council for a safe haven law. It says this month, which would have been, I guess, maybe April. It doesn't look like that has happened. But anyway, that's kind of, so it's a sanctuary city for gender affirming care, and it was brought up by a member of TQHOP. I don't know. Anyway.
Okay, so I mean, that's a lot of words that sound like they're being really nice and kind, and that's great. I don't want anybody to be targeted or whatever. I want everyone to have equal opportunity to not be harmed. I would really like to know what all that means. What special laws and rules do they need that you and I aren't
like what would being a sanctuary city even do? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, so how does someone get punished? What actually happens? What's the thing that they could say, well, we are being harmed in this way, this is what's going to happen, and then what's the action that takes place? I mean, that has to turn into some kind of action. I know, the sanctuary city for illegal immigrants across the country means something completely different.
Yeah.
And so I really want to kind of dig into what that means locally and what that particular thing they're asking for.
Oh, here we go. So this says, so once again, I have the interwebs at my fingertips. It says a city designated as a sanctuary for gender affirming care would be a local government that creates a protective environment for transgender and gender nonconforming individuals, often by limiting cooperation with out-of-state efforts to investigate or prosecute people for accessing or providing gender affirming care. So it sounds like we're going to not cooperate with, I guess if the federal government had something going on.
So we're going to get
the
people.
federal government has never really gotten on adults who want transgendering. It's the kids.
Right.
And the kids aren't old enough to make those decisions. And their parents make the decisions for them, and maybe that's not the right thing. So
I'm one of those that believe a child should definitely not be exposed to that, and if that's part of this law and it has something to do with if age is not at least 18, I truly think that someone should be older than 18 before they start changing their body like that. And
I can tell you that because. At one point, I was the only doctor in 100 miles who was treating transgenders, but I never treated anybody who was less than 18 years old. And I had one who was 16 came to me, and I said, "Come back in 2 years," and he came back in 2 years. So we got him on the hormones.
Man, I wish if any of those folks that you've treated in the past. Are still around here and know you and would be willing to have a conversation, I would find that really valuable. I'm not asking you to ask your patients. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like anybody locally that's been through it, good or bad, because there's a lot of people that get through it, and then like they want to detransition and all that.
Yeah.
And a lot of that can't be done depending on what, what all was done.
And that's one of the things that I told these people when they first started. I said, once you go on hormones, if you go 6 months, it may not be reversible. So, and I only had one patient who came back and said, I'm quitting. And it was not because of what she thought, it was because her grandmother just went total apeshit when she found out that this young lady was transgendering to male. So
Okay.
Anyway, but I had probably 50 patients who were transgendering before I closed my practice, and I don't know what they're doing now for transgender.
Well, again, if anybody is still doing that and would like to have a conversation, I personally would like to just understand more about the journey and
I can tell you a lot
the
about
options.
that.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into that today. I didn't really come prepared to that. We got a lot of other things to cover. I just know it's a hot topic out there, and I think there's a lot of there's a lot of confusion. There's really no media coverage locally that talks about it, or regionally, or whatever. It's just really something that people just don't talk about. And so, where I think it needs to be talked about is, especially when younger. I've had some experiences with, my kids. People at their school and young kids talking about it. Like it became so normalized that it was just something that they were talking about. And so therefore, I have to have conversations with my kid about what it means and what they can and can't do and what they should and shouldn't say and all that stuff. And I'm not saying that's necessarily bad that we're having those conversations. I just, I really want to understand, where it goes. Like this is the first time in history that I know of that we've had kind of this big mass movement to get it out there, and like where does that go in the long run? What are we doing with that? So I don't want to get too deep in that today, Dr. Roy. That was more of an invitation to anyone that wanted to come on and have a conversation with us.
And I hope any of them listening to our podcast would be willing to come forward.
Yeah, and even if they wouldn't, maybe not be on screen or maybe be on a dark, maybe not on camera or whatever, I'd be open to anything and having that conversation.
Sure.
One last thing, quasi-local, and I don't have anything more than what was released today. We have been applying as much pressure as we possibly can to the governor. I've got several channels of folks that I've been running up the flagpole about our local energy crisis going on. Governor Mike Braun did a press release today, September 23rd, Tuesday, calling for strong applicants for open IURC roles. And I heard, there was one open seat coming open, but I heard this one said roles. So I wanted to dig in just a little bit deeper on that. And again, I'm not saying this is the answer to our energy problems. I've been barking a lot and been asking for more response because we got a lot of people that are really scared about what's going on here locally. And so I just wanted to let everyone know there was some action being done here, and I'm going to try to pull it up and read a little bit. I think it's a one page here. So if you could put up my screen, Travis, it might be helpful if anybody wants to read it. So Governor Mike Braun affirmed his commitment to protecting Hoosiers by calling for entrepreneurial approach to address utility rates. He named 3 individuals to the nominating committee of the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, the administrative agency that makes decisions in public interest to ensure utilities provide safe and reliable services at just and reasonable rates. He had a quote here: "It's important that the IURC nominating committee look at applicants through a lens that considers one's ability to protect tax ratepayers while objectively weighing the facts and proposals that impact Hoosiers for years to come." And so it just got a lot of other stuff here. So I think I found this on Governor Braun's Facebook page. I strongly recommend you to pick up the phone, keep applying pressure. He's everybody's governor. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's doing stuff. I don't think his office has been nearly vocal enough about what's going on down here, and I've been screaming for that to happen. Maybe this press release was something that he just wants to show there's some action in place and there is stuff going on, which is good. I don't want to shoot it down, but everybody's utility bills are still going to show up next month.
Sure.
And there's I've talked to several business owners in the last couple of months. One I'm trying to do a podcast with, who just said that it's crippling their business. There's certain restaurants and things that are shutting off their lights at certain times of the day to lower the bills. I mean, this is real, and I don't see how it's going to get any cheaper anytime real soon. So I think that one was it on the energy side. Yeah, that's it.
I have another medical thing that I can throw out there.
This goes. Then go ahead, and we'll pivot a little bit.
Doesn't have to. It doesn't really make a problem locally, but it could. There have been a lot of articles put out that there's a better way to treat anxiety than some of the drugs that they're using now for treating anxiety.
Meaning SSRIs and similar things?
SSRIs and similar things.
Okay.
There is an old drug that is being repurposed for treating anxiety, particularly in females. And it's called propranolol. It was one of the early beta blockers. And now we are learning that a lot of young women are asking for propranolol because if they have to give a speech, if they have to give a talk to a lot of people, they get anxious. And propranolol will slow that down. And I have to say that I actually had to use propranolol one time when I was in the service because I was really anxious about something. And I took some propranolol. I had good access to it, and it works. So anyway, that is one possibility. I saw there's a physician-only group that is called Doximity, and they have hundreds of thousands of physicians that belong to it, and there were 2 articles on there about the use of propranolol for treating anxiety, either chronic or periodic anxiety. We all get anxious at a time or two, but it's nice to have something that'll back you up that won't make you addicted to it.
Sure. Yeah.
Nobody's ever been addicted to propranolol.
Okay. And how long has it been around?
Propranolol? Oh, dear God.
I'll put you on the spot.
30 or 40 years.
Okay.
It was the first beta blocker
Okay.
that we used for people with cardiac disease. The very first.
Okay. All right. Well, let's pivot a little bit. We've had several things going on nationally. I think we've podcasted since Charlie Kirk was killed, haven't we, Travis?
No.
We have, but we should have taken probably a moment.
Yeah,
I thought
did.
about that after we didn't really take a moment for it.
We were so deep into Bitcoin that we just didn't.
Yeah.
I think there was something off, we just mentioned it real quickly. But one of the things I'm going to do for a little while with you guys' help is kind of have a weekly Charlie shout out.
Yeah.
Part of the reason is just not necessarily to boost his brand per se for me, but to give people the opportunity to really understand what happened and the fact that, a guy like Charlie Kirk can be murdered because of the things that he was saying. And, we've gone through a lot. There's been a lot of free.
So many people said, "Oh, terrific!
Yeah.
We got rid of one."
There's a lot of people celebrating it. It was very disgusting and vile things going on out there, and a lot of that really, I have to do my best to just kind of stay out of the fray. I got into several discussions with some local college professors who were supporting it and or supporting other people that were supporting just some foul thinking because of quote unquote free speech. And I've got a lot of things to say about that. And
free speech is for the government. You can't say bad things about the government, or you can say bad things about the government. But if you're if you're employed, your employer has the right to fire you for just about anything. And you can't turn around and sue them because of what you said, because it's not covered by the Constitution.
Yeah. So I do have a video to share here. I don't share a lot of Bill O'Reilly. Sometimes he brings some stuff that I like. He was on News Nation, and he had this particular free speech thing has to do with Jimmy Kimmel. And that's one of the same groups of people that were supporting people that were celebrating Charlie Kirk's death were also saying, well, these people have the right to say whatever they want or believe whatever they want, which I do agree with. I'm a free speech absolutist. However, they also, a lot of the same people are always talking about right-wing extremism and violence and how scary it is that all these right-wingers are out here, whatever. But I'll just say right off the gate, there was no violence after Charlie Kirk was murdered. I didn't see any right-wing groups out there.
Nobody burned anything.
Nobody burned anything. There's all that going on. I want to share this clip, and I'll let you guys riff on it as much as you want. And then I got a couple other Charlie clips that we could discuss what we want to look at. But let's listen to this real quick.
Sure.
You think he's going to apologize?
Talking about Jimmy Kimmel.
No.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't think he will. Look, this story is bogus. The story is that Disney and Kimmel, for 3 years, would not put on a non-liberal voice on his program. You talk about no freedom of speech and expression. That story has been totally ignored, and it's not just ABC. It was CBS, NBC, MS, and CNN. Okay? They will not put any non-liberal voice on the air, and I know that because I'm in this midst of marketing confronting evil.
Yeah?
And before Trump entered the political arena, I got on those shows routinely because I bring high ratings to the shows, and the books are number ones. But the point is, and this is such an important point, this whole freedom of speech BS is coming from the far left to make Kimmel a victim and to make Trump a villain. When for 10 years, they have banished all traditional conservative thought and discourse on all of their programs, all of them. Okay, you have a book coming out next week. Let's see how much you get booked. They don't want non-liberal voices. That is Putin stuff.
So there you go. So, we've been banned. We've been censored. We were just talking about earlier that YouTube has taken down the podcast channel for reasons they won't even share.
Yeah.
They've debanked conservatives. You look all the way to we did talk about the Canadian trucker strike and why, I've made the journey to Bitcoin and why I think it's a solution to some of the problems that we're having. But it doesn't take away the fact that there is a massive double standard in what speech is free and for who. And I don't feel sorry for Jimmy Kimmel. I don't think he's entitled to a job at whatever ABC or whatever channel. If you look, I shared graphs, I think last week, Travis, didn't I, of how the ratings year after year after year have gone just plummeting down.
I don't know if we saw a graph or not.
Okay, I might have looked for it and didn't find it, but Colbert ended up his program getting really. He was making them they're losing $23 million a year paying for his salary because he's not bringing the money or the advertising.
Right.
And so at some point, if they're not not funny. I don't know of anybody that really thinks Jimmy Kimmel's funny. I hear people say he's talented and charming and whatever, but at the end of the day, I've never found anything that he said funny, at least not in the last 5 years. And so at the end of the day, though, like what O'Reilly said, there's really no balanced perspective. There's no, where are people out there, right-wing side, allowed to be on these channels and comedy channels and, all these different things? You don't see it. Why is that? Is it because people on the right aren't funny? I mean, I can think of Shane Gillis or think of a Theo Vaughn, or you look at any of these comedians that are now going on to the Kill Tony show, which is raging. And I mean, it's the biggest comedy thing there is going on.
Friggin' hilarious.
They're just so funny, and yet they don't get in the limelight. And you have to ask yourself why. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's like, why don't they have funny people on the right that they put on they platform? I don't understand it. So there is a double standard, and I'll just say that the left is definitely not the ones that are getting the most harm out of this. At least I would say. So we got to let's see. So there's a lot of different clips I'm seeing now. Once you do a search for Charlie Kirk on Facebook, you're just going to get inundated with things now. I think one of the things that we're dealing with locally and around the globe is, Charlie Kirk was, here's any number of things that you can say, you'll hear is Charlie Kirk was killed because he was a blank, fill in the blank, racist, sexist, homophobic, blah, 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 blah. And I've engaged myself against my will on several of these forums.
I've done it too.
I'm like, give me a full clip of something that's not a 5-second soundbite that you can show me that Charlie Kirk is one of these things that you're saying, and that you never, ever, ever, ever get a response. Never get a response. So I'm not saying I'm ready to celebrate what I think's coming from Charlie Kirk's death yet, because I do believe something in my pit of my stomach changed. Like, I physically don't feel the same that I did before. I will say it. I don't know why, but I was very emotional when it happened. But watching the ceremony was very emotional for me. I mean, I cried like a baby. I'm not going to lie to you. I cried like a baby on a couple instances. But I just want to hear. I want people to hear this thing. There's a lot of black influencers on Facebook that are talking about this because they heard all these things, and Charlie Kirk was not on their radar. It was probably not somebody they were paying attention to, but they're seeing him get attacked the way he is, and there are people celebrating his death. So there's people that are like, okay, now you're going to make me look and see these things that he's saying that you're saying are so racist or homophobic or whatever. And maybe one or two of these clips that I'm getting ready to share here will potentially do that if I can get it to play. Hang on a second, Travis. I'm sorry. You know how this Facebook thing goes. I don't really like them either, but it is what it is. Got to find this. There we go. Okay, here we go.
Charlie Kirk is racist. At least that's what all the white liberal women and easily manipulated black Americans going around social media saying. Let me tell you all something. Don't worry, you all don't know this because you don't read. Charlie Kirk, a white man, held the first black leadership summit at the White House. All the black conservative, young and old, spent his own money on suits and ties and flights and hotels, just trying to get these young kids to see something they ain't never seen before, which is the White House. Hold your horses, this might blow your mind. Only one black man donated $20,000 for these kids to go to the White House. Yeah, not Oprah Winfrey, not Barack Obama, not Roland Martin, not Jesse Jackson, not D.L. Hughley, not Ricky Smiley, not one black millionaire. Because these kids' views were different from theirs, they said, we don't want to support you all. Understand one thing, black Americans. You all are going around saying the white man is racist, the Spanish man is racist, the Asian man is racist, but you ain't looking inside your own village. This is why I say black Americans are the most easiest ones to manipulate. Because you got people that will sit there and digest and listen and believe someone like Michelle Obama on a stage talking about the rich man is coming to get you poor people, not realizing she's rich. Her husband is the wealthiest president in American history. You need to ask yourselves, who's really the racist ones?
That was good.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that going on out there, and I only want to share that. I'm not obviously not a black person. I have a lot of friends. I'm trying to unite people along on topics that we can agree with, and I've always thought, like many of the things that we get divided on, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat because I think that's just another line of division that we don't need. We need people that can align on topics and work on those topics. And energy is a good one that we talk about. Everyone wants lower utility bills, so it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. We need to work together to solve those things. Our inflation and out of control spending in the country is causing lower quality of lives and higher cost of living, and we're having an affordability crisis. We're trying to solve those things with Bitcoin and having conversations about money. Guess what? Money's not a Republican or a Democrat thing. It's not a black or white thing. It's everybody wants to have security in their life. And so talking about Bitcoin to me is one of those things that we can unite people around. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. But I want to expose these types of things that are going on and the types of comments that are happening out there, because there is some light. I think, some of the things that we're going to be seeing here moving forward is it's hopefully going to have some benefit. I don't even know how I can say that right now, but Travis, did you come with something you wanted to talk about Charlie? I know you're wanting to have something in the podcast studio that's Turning Point USA related, just to promote that. Did you have anything specific you wanted to talk about?
I mean, I could go deep into this, or we could not. I support pretty much everything he ever said. I found myself going down troll holes, or whatever you want to call them, fighting. Thank you.
I had a different vision of what a troll hole is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Rabbit hole, troll hole. Okay.
Well, but trolls, they
have holes too.
Well, they do.
Under bridges.
The under bridge hole. No, but people on Facebook and they're talking, just like you said, just people who are talking about how he deserved it, or how he was, he was racist, he was a homophobe, he was, evil, blah blah blah, whatever it might be. And everybody who says this, I usually ask. I think you just said this, but I mean, have you actually watched a full episode of his, like a full clip, or are you just getting the little tidbits that people are trying to pull out to make it seem like he's saying something that he's really not? I mean, when he talks about the black pilot thing, that was a DEI hire thing. That wasn't the fact that the pilot was black. It was, if DEI hired him because he's black, does he have the same abilities as somebody who would have been hired on a merit base, regardless if they were white or Asian or whatever? He was just trying to get at DEI hiring practices when it was that specific thing. Or there are other things that was the big one that a lot of people tried to talk about, that he was racist because he said that. Something about black women. There was one about black women. Well, he actually specifically was talking about like 4 different black women that are in the Senate or in the House or whatever. And it wasn't that he was talking about all black women. He was talking about these specific black women. And he did say something kind of rough to them, but at the time that he said it, it was because they were being idiots. And he was kind of pointing that out, but it was taken out of context. And so they tried to make it seem like he was saying all black women don't have the capacity to think.
They clipped it, and they failed to add context of all those women likely saying very nasty and vile things about him.
Right. And and I came in just earlier before we started recording talking about how the most recent thing I've seen is people acting like that people aren't grieving just because of that memorial being in a stadium with jumbotrons and pyrotechnics and things. And I mean, yeah, it was some pomp and circumstance there. I mean, I'll agree that they were making it more, I don't know, appealing, or I don't know what you want to call it, but I mean, we are all, like you said, I mean, I find myself getting emotional about a man I never met, about a man I was never in the same room as. I never got to see him live or anything, but just his ability to, I mean, he was really bringing a lot of young people around, I think, to at least thinking for themselves. You don't have to think the way I think. I don't mind, but just think about it.
Yeah, he challenged people that agree with him on most things, even to debate the little things they didn't agree with, all the way to the people that didn't agree with him on anything, to come and share the stage and have that same conversation. So it wasn't like he was just picking and choosing, people that were going to have a friendly conversation with him.
Oh, no.
But
there was a lot of unfriendly conversation.
Well, I mean, you and I have done this on the side, not even in the podcast a lot. We'll have disagreements about something AI, like an AI, what AI is going to do or what it's not going to do, and we'll go off on things, and you'll completely disagree with me on something, and and we are passionate about what we believe in, but you can have that conversation respectfully. It doesn't negate all the other things that we agree on or what we can work on together. Right. So
all I really have is just kind of the defending, defending of a man who's now dead, who was assassinated or murdered. Some people don't like using the word assassination, but
that's what it was.
Well, it was, but then somebody, he was murdered. He was whatever. Yeah. A man who, just because people didn't believe, some people didn't believe in his beliefs, and they couldn't out debate him, so they killed him to shut him up.
Well, technically, an assassination, I believe, is more than one party involved, and there's without a doubt that he was talking to people on that dark server, one of the dark servers, and when I say dark, I just mean private servers, and apparently the guy that they tackled first at the rally right after he got shot, they tackled him because he was a distraction to give this guy a getaway, like cause a little bit of a shadow so he could get away. So that by definition makes an assassination. And if you don't believe that, then you need to look up what an actual assassination is. By definition, this meets it. And if you don't agree with that, I don't know, get a better education. But there are some things immediately that happened right after that. Again, I just want to shine some light on. Turning Point USA is the organization that he ran, and I'm just giving rough numbers here. There was fewer than 5,000 organizations in the United States, and 5,000 is a lot of. So college campuses, high school campuses can have their own TP USA, Turning Point USA groups, and roughly, and it's under 5,000. They had under 5,000 prior to Charlie's murder. I think within 2 days after that, something to the effect of 37,000 applications were applied for people wanting to create local chapters in high schools, colleges, and I'm assuming it by definition, if that was part of the charter, maybe it has to be out of school. Maybe that's part of it. Yeah. I know that's where he was. So that's huge, I think. And if that energy just continues, did you know Charlie was set to come to Bloomington, Indiana, next month or the month after?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I would have gone.
So we need to talk about this if we want to think about going. But Tucker Carlson, I think, is going in his place. So Tucker is going to be in Bloomington. I don't remember what my wife said, something about looking at tickets, but if you guys are interested in that, or anybody else locally that might want to drive up, I really want to do that. She's probably, she said, well, your birthday's coming up, so maybe that's your birthday present.
I would probably be game for that.
Yeah, okay. Your birthday is coming up.
Yeah, this Sunday.
You're going to be 75.
At least.
Yeah.
I don't feel a day over 74 though, Doc.
Yeah, okay.
See, now the people always say that, an age is just a number, you're only as old as you feel, and I always say, well, then I feel like I should be retired. I think I'm like 65. Right?
I don't know what I am in dog years, but I know it's a lot.
In dog years.
So I got another clip here. This is a different guy I think it's a different guy, but another clip that I felt, and this is a little bit longer one, but this is kind of an interesting journey that this guy looks like an influencer, but I think he's waking up to what he heard about Charlie Kirk and what he learned about Charlie Kirk.
Y'all made me obsessed with Charlie Kirk. This came out of the blue for me. I never cared for bro content like that. Nothing against what he said. I was just never interested in clicking his videos to see what he had to say. But y'all made me deep dive and go down this rabbit hole because there was no possible way that y'all seen the same video I saw and half the world rejoiced it. And I'm just sitting here like, there's no way. Immediately I'm sitting here like, bro, nobody deserved to go out like that for all them kids in front of his family. And y'all rejoiced it. Y'all celebrated it. And y'all ain't even had nothing to do with it. So I said, bro, he must have said something. I'm missing something. I'm seeing creators that used to talk about God and is going to get on here and compromise their belief, religion, faith to celebrate death. We're talking about something that's biblical that you should never do. And folks is coming on here doing it. So I said, I got to deep dive into what he said, because is he on the status of Hitler? What am I missing? And somebody said, well, he would have did that for you. Well, I don't care. My morals would never allow me to celebrate death. Doesn't matter who it is. So the fact that you've been compromised, I have to get down to the bottom of it. And not just one person, too many. So y'all encouraged me to go down this rabbit hole to figure out what bro has said for this hate to be sparked up or maybe revealed in a lot of people. And I'm almost satisfied because now I started looking into stuff and I'm like, dang, so you felt like this. Your hate and evilness has been revealed within you. But what you said, the way he said, is cap. That's not even what he said. That's not even in the full context. So now I'm just starting to, oh, that was a lie. Oh, that was a lie. Wow. So, so now I don't know.
So this is really the reality of it, is that most people take talking points. Most people was not familiar with Charlie Kirk. Most of the people that are complaining about him or had something negative to say or even celebrated his passing, they had no clue what Charlie Kirk actually stood for. If they watched the full context of the videos, I'm pretty sure that they would have a better understanding of where he stood. But they basically trying to paint him to be one of the worst people in history because he was trying to stand up for traditional values, bring back people into God, hold people accountable for what it is that they did to their communities, take people out of the Victim Olympics, and have honest, meaningful debate on student campuses that endeared him to younger people, that brought them back into the Republican fold and got them away from the indoctrination camp that was happening over at the left. And then they followed all of their leaders right down into the mire with all of this false propaganda in order to try to assassinate his name.
Well, I shared that because I don't think I could say it any better. I don't even have anything to say. It was a perfect example of a guy being forced to look into something because he seems like a passionate dude, and this was really a cause of concern for me, and the hate that is revealed under the guise of free speech. It's really concerning to me. I'm also concerned that what is happening now on the right, anytime you have a massive flop in one direction, a lot of times there's an equal, opposite, or even greater reaction on the right. And these are the windows of time to me that are very concerning. Yeah. That there could be you can cause violence if they just continue doing these things and celebrating it. I mean, that's going to push too many buttons, and that does concern me. So I'm going to do my best to hold back on not getting angry. I was angry right out of the gate when he got killed. I'm still angry, but I'm not angry at any individual. I'm just angry because I think he was doing things for our country and for kids and giving them a view of a future that was completely opposite of what they're taught now in schools. I mean, he's like, don't wait to have kids. Having kids is going to be the best thing that you end up doing in your lifetime, and waiting is not good. And I think so. He's inspiring people even after death, I think, to do that. Sorry, I ranted. You guys.
That's all right.
Do you have any more to say on that?
No.
Okay.
Not really.
I got another couple clips here that are poignant, I believe. There was quite a few things that went on at the memorial that I thought were good. I will say a Charlie Kirk memorial. I'm sorry, just to be more concise. To answer your question, or to kind of push back on what you said a little bit, Travis, you'd mentioned the memorial and whatever. I kind of felt like it was a little bit too much government.
Oh yeah, especially when Trump was talking at the end there.
Yeah, I didn't like any of that.
Yeah.
I didn't like any of the political stuff at all. I did feel like they were tying, right wing, whatever. My wife had some uncomfortable feelings about a lot of the, more of the religion talk and all that stuff. But my pushback to her on that was, well, he was very religious. It was God first for him, and this was his memorial. So if this is what he wants people coming out and talking about, then this was for him. But that overlap is whenever you got all the military leaders and all that stuff coming out. I felt that was a little bit too much. I just, maybe hearing from a few of them, but I do realize also a lot of them were his good friend. And so who am I really to judge? Really, I'm not. I just think it was just a little bit too much for me personally. I loved a lot of it. I really, really, really loved it. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I just, that particular went a little bit overboard. Tucker Carlson said I had a really good speech. There was there was a moment here that I'm going to share with RFK, who also spoke. He got visibly emotional, and this hits back on something that Travis and Roy were going to be hitting on. I still haven't figured out how we're going to do format wise, but here in the next week, we're going to be podcasting with the author of the book I have here in front of me, Modern Chains, with Neil Flesher. And one of the things I highly recommend anybody that's interested in the history of our country and what the transition of old slavery into what he's calling modern slavery. The modern chains is a call on, we went from a period and window of time of actual slaves being here, and they were, forced to do labor. But kind of what the transition has had, the government has grown so big that we're all kind of forced to do labor to pay for the government anyway, but it's just not with chains. But we have to work 40 or 50% of the year just to pay for the expenses of our government, which is, in some form slavery-like. But one of his key things that he says, and I've written it, I don't know where I have it, but what are you willing to die for? Basically, is one of the key points, and it sounds to me like Robert F. Kennedy had read the book by Neil. I actually reached out to Neil to talk about our upcoming conversation, and I've talked about some of the things that I've heard over the last couple of weeks, and I shared this clip with him. And again, we all know Kennedy has talked about Bitcoin a lot. Kennedy and the Trumps have talked about Bitcoin a lot, and if you can read the book and then listen to this particular clip by RFK, I think it'll really resonate.
We were talking about the risks that all of us take when we challenge entrenched interests, the physical risk. And he asked me if I was scared of dying. And I said to him, there's a lot worse things than death. And one of those things is if we lost our constitutional rights in this country and that our children were raised as slaves. And I said to Charlie, sometimes the best consolation we can hope for is that we get to die with our boots on. Well, Charlie died with his boots on, and he died to make sure that we didn't have to undergo those fates that are worse than death. Oh, let's remember Charlie. He was, for those of us who were friends with Charlie, we don't need any more evidence of the love of God, because the evidence, the friendship, is the best evidence that God loves us all. Thank you, and God bless you.
Ooh, that was one of the tough moments for me. I just thought he did a great job of that, and you could tell he was choked up. I mean, his speech is already a little bit off, and people make fun of him, which really annoys the piss out of me when people make fun of him because of his disease or the issue that he has with his throat. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have anything you want to add to that one, but
well, I want to die with my boots on. Yeah. That's. I spent 11 years in the Air Force. And every day that I went out, whether I was wearing my blue suit or whether I was wearing my flight suit, I said, today's a good day to die for my country. And that's the way I felt about it. And I'd still die for my country.
Well, I mean, we're not there in popularity yet, but we're putting our neck out there, and that's just one of the risks. Unfortunately, we live in a time where I believe both sides of the aisle have ramped up rhetoric and division. Now, personally, I've got some videos here I'm not going to share tonight that kind of explain why I think it's much more a leftist problem right now than it is a right. It has been a problem with the right in the past with rhetoric that amps things up and doesn't do anything to unite people around issues, because I believe this, and I believed it for a long time, that our government tries to divide us so they can maintain power and control. It's a way they keep us looking at things and focused on why I should be mad at Travis or Roy about the things that we disagree on, rather than looking square in the eye at the things that are actually causing our real problems. And that's some of the topics I think that we try to expose on this anti-tyranny podcast. And you know, I don't always explain it kind of at that level, but whenever I read Neil's book and it came back to, you know, what are you willing to die for? RFK said, I don't want our children to be slaves, and that's one of the tenets in his things, and that's one of the paths I honestly believe that we're on right now. Is we're too much. I'm not going to get into the education side of things, right? But it is making me upset just thinking about it right now. So I'm going to take a back step to that one. A little bit of good news you guys might have heard. One of the potential assassins that tried to kill Trump was sentenced guilty on all 5 counts.
I did see that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did I don't know when they sentenced him and how long he'll spend in jail.
It was a couple of days ago.
Okay. Yeah.
And he tried to kill himself.
Yeah.
Oh.
He tried to kill himself right there in the courtroom
with a pen. He tried to get his neck with a pen,
stabbing himself.
Okay. Well, yeah. I don't really want him to die now. I just want him to suffer.
Yep.
I'm sorry. That sounds really bad. That Charlie Kirk definitely would not have said that. So let me. I don't know if this is a good outro or not. It might be. I got one more video. I haven't shared anything from Brett and Heather on the Dark Horse in a while.
Okay.
But we're talking about the things to put into our toolkit to ourselves be better at fighting tyranny, but also things that we can be teaching our kids to fight tyranny and to be good critical thinkers. And I think this particular clip, let me make sure that it's queued up right. Looks like it is. Tells a good lesson here, and I don't know when it's going to end. So if I run over, I'm sorry. But let's talk about this one, and then let's wrap up for the day.
All right.
I think that sounds incredibly dire. You're on your own, but I hear that and feel some hope. Actually, that compelling people, convincing people that actually being self-sufficient with regard, having self-sufficiency, not entirely, no human can be totally self-sufficient, but having self-sufficiency with regard to an ability to assess information that comes in on your own, as opposed to only taking other people's word for things, is perhaps the most important thing that a modern human can be able to do. And it's possible. It's actually not all that hard. You don't need to become expert in everything, right? You need to become expert in, as Brett said, pattern recognition and honing your intuition and having enough analytics that you can test your intuition against what else you can find. Such that even though, most people are not going to end up doing their own statistical analyses, you can do sort of like back of the envelope, like, I don't even know what the like country version of statistical analyses would be, but like you could effectively test your own intuitions over and over and over again, and so become good at assessing when people are telling you things that they have no way of possibly knowing that they are true when they're claiming they are true.
Now, I didn't come prepared for this piece of the story, but it's obviously relevant in light of that. Joe Ladapo, Surgeon General of Florida, announced this week, I believe, that Florida is going to end all mandates and requirements. Everything becomes optional. They can't require you to take a vaccine to go to school.
That's right.
And I would argue that this is way ahead of the curve, because what really you've just discovered in the last 2 stories here is that any requirement or mandate for a medical treatment or prevention is invalid on its face. Why? Because, well, as Robert Malone famously said at the Defeat the Mandates rally, if there is risk, there must be choice. You now know that any place you are told there is no risk, you cannot trust that. If there was risk, they wouldn't tell you. So If they're going to lie to you about whether or not there is risk, then you must assume there is risk to everything. There is certainly risk to you. There's a risk that they're lying and not telling you something they know that is materially important to you or maintaining your health. So that means there's no such thing, as far as I can tell, as a valid requirement or mandate. It couldn't possibly be true. You effectively have a natural right to govern your own health, and that means refusing anything and everything that you don't want to take. There's nothing governmentally that they could possibly know that would overwhelm that, because they burned that option at the point they decided they had a right to lie, because you don't know where they're lying.
Meanwhile, on the West Coast, the governors of California, Oregon, and Washington are busy conflating science with ideology. So this, can you see my screen? Amazing. Out of the governor's office, Kotek, and the governor of Oregon, we have September 3rd of this month of this year, Oregon, Washington, and California form Western Health Alliance. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek joins governors in California and Washington to help ensure the public has access and credible information for confidence in vaccine safety and efficacy. This is responsive to Latipo doing what he is doing in Florida. Joint statement from Governors Newsom, Kotek, and Ferguson. That's governors of California, Oregon, and Washington, our fair state. Quote, President Donald Trump's mass firing of CDC doctors and scientists and his blatant politicization of the agency is a direct assault on the health and safety of the American people. The CDC has become a political tool that increasingly peddles ideology instead of science, ideology that will lead to severe health consequences. California, Oregon, and Washington will not allow the people of our states to be put at risk. So this is part of how the magic trick is done.
Yep.
Right? Is again, we're in Orwell land with regard to the use of language. They have literally swapped the word science and ideology. They, the governors of the West Coast, are pretending that they are standing for science. And they are actually they're asking for a CDC like the one that led us through COVID, in which you would have been better off, as we said over and over and over again, doing exactly the opposite of what the CDC said at every single step.
Okay, that was enough. I highly recommend this podcast, the 293rd episode of the Dark Horse podcast with Dr. Brett and Dr. Heather. I thought this one was especially a good lesson. These are two former teachers, former liberal teachers. They were fired because they didn't think and talk like they were supposed to. I wanted to go all the way through the Oregon and Washington, California piece, because I do have family and friends in those states. Doc, I don't know if you have even a guttural reaction on the difference between Florida now saying they're not forcing any vaccines for their students at all. That's something I hadn't heard. I think that's his chair popping. Sorry. No, that's why I'm getting new chairs, man. And then you look at Oregon, Washington, California. That's a weird triad of the exact opposite. They're just going to ignore everything that's coming down the pipeline. They're going to. It sounds like act like the COVID not vaccine never happened, and that so people should just trust them, and forget that it ever happened. And they're calling Florida and Trump dangerous. I don't even know if it's laughable. I don't know who in their right mind would believe that. What is your take on it?
I used to be a raging vaccination guy, and
when we started this podcast, you were definitely much more pro vaccine.
In the last year, I've gotten to the point, and I've seen the light that the vaccines are not what they're made out to be. And
well, you've said it a bunch of times. Maybe some of the old ones were.
Yeah.
Like some of the old ones were not talking about things that have cured, smallpox is gone and all that.
They put smallpox and some of the others.
Polio. Don't you do it? Don't you do it?
Yeah. Well, guess what? Polio's still here.
Yeah.
They just changed the name.
Yeah. No, you've learned that pretty recently too.
Yeah.
I
sent that over to you. Yeah. But anyhow, I've learned that a lot of the vaccines have changed, and they're still labeled as vaccine for, this or that, but they have a tremendous amount of things in them, like, fluoride and other kinds of things that don't make any sense.
And they're not promising us. I've not heard any, like, one of the things, remember, I was talking about is like, I want to be damn sure that there's no mRNA.
Yeah.
And they're not even talking about it.
No.
There's no transparency. There's no education. And again, for those that are just going to hate on RFK, he's wanting transparency.
Yeah.
He's wanting placebo testing. He wants people to know informed consent, reading the labels, understanding what these things have in them, and some side effects that may come along with them. As Dr. Brett and Heather both said, there is nothing that's safe.
No.
There's always risks in anything that we do. Are you checking Bitcoin numbers or something?
Yeah, I am checking.
I can tell you what it's at.
It was down a little bit today.
It's way down. Yeah.
Well, I got
at about 112.3.
Probably lost about I don't know, $12,000 on that. But
it'll
you
go back
lose
up.
it.
But you're just holding it. You're just holding it. You haven't lost it. You haven't lost it. It's
I'm
just not
holding
where
it.
it's not where you'd like it to be.
No, I still have the same amount of Bitcoin that I used to. It's just not worth as much.
Well, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. That's like the reason why I wanted you both to come armed today. And Dr. Roy, I asked you to bring some of your own stuff because I'm deep in the hole of learning everything I can about Bitcoin and trying to consume as much content. The guy that we podcasted with last week, he said, what did he say? He had a couple 100 hours of education and self-education.
Yeah, something like that.
And so, and he's like, I still need to learn a lot more.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's why I bought 3-4 new books and got audio books and podcasts. So that's the rabbit hole I'm going in. So I'm going to challenge you and Travis and any other, tell me what you want to talk about. Any of these things that pop up. I mean, you've brought some great things to light today that I think our local, regional, national people, if they hear it, it could be beneficial for hearing it from a doctor. Some of the things you don't hear from doctors. And I'm very, very thankful for you for doing that. And
you're quite welcome.
And you brought some Ivermectin money today, which is going to help pay for some of the equipment that I just spent too much money on. Maybe I'll buy a small bottle of bourbon for Travis.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I want to thank everybody that has joined us for the first time. I want to again thank the people that are agreeing to support the podcast. I'm meeting with another one tomorrow. He's promised to support the podcast. One of the things I've promised the people that are doing that, there's several of them that are business owners. If anyone locally needs anything, a lot of times people will go on Facebook in search of somebody that works on or does these things. If you're interested in, you want a referral, maybe reach out to me. And if I have somebody that's supporting the podcast, even if you're not able to support the podcast directly yourself by using this individual or individuals, it can, share the love of what they're sharing with us.
Well, 2 of the names you mentioned are people that I use for my home.
Yeah. And we're not naming them. I told them I'm not doxing them, but I will tell them in private.
Yeah. And they have done wonderful things for my house.
And I know if anybody asks for something, you're giving them referrals for that thing.
Sure.
So, again, I greatly appreciate those people. Appreciate all of you for watching, Travis. I know you didn't talk as much today, but I know that's going to change next week because you're definitely more of a Bitcoiner at this point than I am. So you're going to, you and Neil, I'm sure, are going to have some good engagement. Really looking forward to that. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, sending love to you all. If you can support the podcast in any way, please reach out to me or Dr. Roy if you need some Ivermectin.
Yep.
And looking forward to next time and sending love to y'all. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Good night.